Hey guys, today we're going to be putting together some homemade cinnamon rolls, way better than anything you'll get from a can, so let's go ahead and get started. For the dough, we're going to need 1 cup of milk, 1 packet of instant yeast, 2 tablespoons of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of softened butter, 1 egg, and 3 cups of all-purpose flour. For the filling, we're going to use 1/2 cup butter melted, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1½ tablespoons of cinnamon, and 1/4 tablespoon of nutmeg. And finally, for the glaze, we're going to use 8 ounces of room temperature cream cheese, 4 tablespoons of softened butter, 1½ cups of confectioner's sugar, and about ½ teaspoon of vanilla, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk if we need it just to thin things out. To get things started, we're going to go ahead and let our cup of milk, our cream cheese, and our 2 sticks of butter sit out on the counter so they can go ahead and come up to room temperature. After about 10 or 15 minutes, once your milk has come up to room temperature, we're going to go ahead and pour in some active dry yeast. I usually use 1 whole packet. What we're going to do is just stir this right in and let this sit for, again, about another 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, while we're waiting on the yeast to rise, we're going to go ahead and assemble our dry ingredients. We're going to start with 3 cups of flour. I'll go ahead and try to make a well right in the middle so we can stir in our other ingredients. Next, we're going to stir in 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. Then we're going to stir in 1 teaspoon of salt. Once it's been good and mixed, we're going to go ahead and add in our butter and 1 egg. Alright, from here we're going to go ahead and move everything over to the stand mixer. I have the dough hook attachment on right now. I'm going to lock it, give it a little bit of a mix while we're waiting on that milk. Alright, Robin, do you want to pour the milk in?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to stop the milk. We're going to be very careful. We're going to turn that on a little bit higher and let that go until the dough has come together into a ball. The final product should be able to be moldable into a ball, slightly tacky to the touch but not sticky. And we're going to go ahead and let it come to rest right back in the bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap. Or we're going to let it sit for about an hour and let it rise. The goal here is we're going to want the dough to double in size, and then we'll move it to the refrigerator for the last couple of minutes of the rise to make it workable for our next step. While we're waiting for our dough to rise, we're going to go ahead and assemble the filling ingredients. We're going to start with a cup of brown sugar. Then we've got our spice mixture, which is 1½ tablespoons of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. You really don't want too much nutmeg, but the flavor is nice. And then we're going to go ahead and add 1/2 cup of melted butter. This should be a whole stick of butter. We're going to give that a stir. Okay, I went ahead and moved our dough to my stove area with the kitchen light on just to give it a little bit of warmth so it can rise. And as you can see, the dough ball has doubled in size, and we've got about 15 minutes left in this rise. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and move the dough over to the refrigerator to cool it off. But before I do that, I'm going to preheat the oven to 325. Then move this to the refrigerator. While we're letting our dough rise in the refrigerator for the last 15 minutes, I want to go ahead and prepare our dishes. Now, since it's just the 3 of us here, I'm not going to make all 12 cinnamon rolls. So I'm going to grease a small 9x9 pan. Set that aside. And then I've lined a larger 9x12 with wax paper. We're going to actually put the unused cinnamon rolls in the freezer and freeze them for later. This recipe is great because you can pull these cinnamon rolls out whenever you're ready, let them thaw for about 60 to 90 minutes, and then pop them in the oven at 325, and it's just like you baked them fresh. While we're waiting for our dough to rise, we're going to go ahead and prep our work area. I've gone ahead and laid out 2 sheets of wax paper. I have a half sheet cake pan ready for me on the side, and my trusty rolling pin. What I'm going to do is really liberally flour the rolling pin. Get that wax paper also nice and floured. Once we've rolled out our dough, we're going to transfer the wax paper onto the cookie sheet. That way we can pour our cinnamon sugar mixture on top without making a huge mess. Okay, our dough's been in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and roll it out. Trying to get it out into a large rectangular shape. It is a little tougher to work with since it's been in the refrigerator. That's also going to make it come off the wax paper easier. That's looking like a pretty good shape. So we'll go ahead and transfer it to my cookie sheet. Now before I get started on rolling, I want to make sure that it lifts up off of the wax paper with ease. Got a little bit of tug there. So I'm going to go ahead and reflour it. Here, we're just going to spread on our cinnamon sugar mixture. You might need to give it a stir. And if it's solidified while you've been letting the dough rise, just pop it into the microwave for a couple of seconds. And now the fun part. We're going to roll tightly as much as we can. It is going to have some cinnamon sugar dripping onto the bottom, and that's okay. We're going to try to use that in the pan, and that is why we moved it to this cookie sheet. I go ahead and give it a nice stretch. And we're going to cut this into 12 roughly similar sized pieces. We'll go right down the middle. Cut it into 4s, and then into 3rds. And go ahead and pick 4. The others are going to go on this prepared pan. And they're going to get popped into the freezer. And sometimes I wind up with some smaller ones like this, so I'm going to show you a cheat that I like to do, which is I'm just going to roll them together. No one will know when they're eating them later. Now I showed you that there was a little bit of cinnamon sugar left over. What we're going to do is actually just drizzle some of that down to the bottom of the pan. Remember, it was mostly butter anyway. So that's going to give it a nice cinnamon sugary caramelly bottom when we've done baking. And the excess is actually just going to go into a freezer bag, so I can do the same thing with the frozen cinnamon rolls later. We're going to cover this and let it sit for another hour. Alright, these cinnamon rolls have been rising for just about an hour. As you can see, they've already filled out a lot of the pan. They're going to finish rising in the oven. So, we've got our oven set to 325. Put these in. I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and give it a look then. It's really about making sure that you've got a good golden brown top. While our cinnamon rolls are baking, we're going to go ahead and combine the icing ingredients. I like to start by taking our softened cream cheese, which I've removed from the box, our softened 4 tablespoons of butter, and our half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to get that into the blender with our paddle attachment. Again, you can do this by hand, but this makes it a lot easier. Once our cream cheese and butter has come together, I'm going to take about half of our powdered sugar, stir that in, and about half of our milk, so about 1 tablespoon of milk. We're going to slowly incorporate the rest of the powdered sugar. And the last bit of the milk. I'm going to cut things off just to make sure we work in the last bit of that powdered sugar off on the sides. Your frosting is finished. It should be thick and delicious looking. Alright, we're at about the 5-minute mark here, so let's go ahead and take a look at these cinnamon rolls. They're looking good, but I think they're going to need a little bit more time, so let's go ahead and reset my timer for 10 minutes. Alright, that's been 10 minutes, so let's give them a look. These are looking great. We're going to go ahead and pull them out. Then we're going to give a generous amount of icing on top of them. You're going to want to give about 5 minutes or so, let them cool down before you dig in. While I'm waiting for my cinnamon rolls to cool, I wanted to show you that since we went ahead and froze some of these, how I'm going to prepare them. So these frozen cinnamon rolls, ready to go into freezer bags. I might pull out 1 or 2 at a time, or I might pull out all 6. And I've also got the leftover cinnamon sugar mixture and the icing that we just made. I'm going to put them all in this bag. I've got myself a nice little cinnamon roll kit ready for the next time everyone's home, so I don't have to prepare these overnight. I just pop them in the oven after they've risen. Cinnamon rolls, instructions. When you're ready to serve up, just reach in. Made up a cinnamon roll and serve with your favorite cup of coffee. While making cinnamon rolls from scratch, it does take a little bit of time. I bet you're going to find that you're going to think it's worth every single second. They go great with a cup of coffee, for breakfast, lunch, or any time in between. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoy our videos. Let us know what else you'd like to see in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.